What's going on, everybody? You're checking out the Blue Chip Podcast, a football podcast. I'm Stan. This is Cody, and we're going to continue what we did yesterday, and we're going to do our Blue Chip players for the offensive side of the ball for the NFL draft. Not as many players that we think are blue chip. Right?
I was about to say, I think this will be a little bit shorter podcast than what we did with defense. We definitely have some honorable mentions we'll get into. Again, this is a traits-based podcast where we're going to explain the traits. We're going to break these guys down, and we're going to explain why they're blue chip. Realistically, man, another thing that yesterday really I want to get out of the way before we even start. Dwayne Haskins, man, the thing. Breaking down these players, man, and being a fan of football, I think the first thing that really needs to get understood is we're breaking down what we see on film. We're not breaking down what this person is or is not on the field, man. There is no judgment. These guys are all amazing on the field. They are special athletes. Saying that this guy is blue chip or not blue chip, man, this has nothing to do with the person, man. These guys are all great, and they all work hard, and that's why they're in the position that they are in. And, I think that gets lost sometimes when people make tweets or they say this guy, did this or is struggling with this. Man, trust me, dude, we all have problems on and off the field, in personal life or whatever career path you choose. And I just wanted to clarify that, man, because yesterday I really didn't know how to put into words. Clearly, I'm a Commanders fan, Washington football team, and, formerly the Redskins. I was kind of excited when we got Dwayne Haskins, man, and I was really excited that him and Terry came in together. I really thought that was going to be a combo for years to come. And for whatever anybody wants to say, man, I'm just, it's easy as a fan to remember, what somebody was on the field, man. But this guy on and off the field, with all the things that people have posted about him, man, clearly he was loved. And prayers to his family again. That's really where I want to leave this, as somebody who felt the obligation for being a fan of his and, wanting to see him do great things here. Again, this is more than just on and off the field, man. I think what gets lost is these guys are people. And I wanted to put that out there.
Yeah, definitely. I still feel like I'm in shock about it. Definitely gotta appreciate your days that you have on this planet, because you never know what's gonna happen tomorrow. But you want to dive into some of these prospects?
Yes, sir. So today we're going to start with Ike Ekwonu, man, the offensive tackle out of NC State, man. This guy is a bruiser, man, and he is my top-rated offensive player in this draft. This guy is huge, man. He's a mauler, man. He's just nasty. He gets after it, and there's something that I like and value when it comes to offensive linemen, and that is somebody who puts people on their ass, pulls very well, athletic, and just honestly, man, this guy's a dog. And that's why he's my top-rated player. Honestly, from a technical standpoint, man, he's up there almost with, Tyron Smith coming out. But then, when I think about nasty and athleticism, man, he's not the athlete I think that Trent Williams was. But I think he's very damn close, coming out as a prospect, man. And, for everything that Tyron Smith was coming out, I think Trent Williams lacked a little bit of that technician and refined those skills in the league.
I think when you're looking at linemen, there's a line between the raw just like Punisher and the technician, and the best ones really are both. And I think he actually really has both. I think he's definitely a tackle, but I think you could plug him in at guard if you wanted to.
I think he has all-pro talent to do either.
I think he's just going to be a great NFL lineman. I think you could probably start him at either left or right guard or tackle, and I think you're going to get something really good with him. I think he'd be very good for a zone running scheme.
Yes, sure. I think he has the brute strength to play in the power, man, or the one gap. But I think this guy definitely can. He's definitely a zone blocker, which is the traits that I value, which is why he is my number one. If I'm Jacksonville, this would be my pick. If I was running the show, man, you invested in Trevor Lawrence. I know they went out, and they franchise tagged Greg Robinson.
Yeah.
They
drafted Walker Little high.
Right. And they definitely set it up to go for one of these edge guys. But honestly, man, if I was making the pick, if I was running things in there, I have him over top of all the edges in this class, which is why I would take him number one. His positional value for what they've invested for the quarterback position, man. Be great at something, and that's always something that when I'm looking at building a team, man, I want to be great at something first. Whether it's on the offensive side of the ball or for the defensive side of the ball, for whatever my coaching staff's philosophy is, man, I'm going to get that guy the best talent to make sure that what he wants to do and the identity of his team is great. Ike Ekwonu is that. This guy's feet are amazing. This guy's hand usage is amazing. Like I said, the raw techniques, size, athleticism, man. This guy moves. There's something to be said for tackles that run a sub 4.5 40. It just really shows how light they are on their feet. This guy moves amazing, man. When you watch this guy in drills, man, everything that he shows in drills at the combine reflects everything you see on tape. So when you put all those traits together and you grade this guy out and you see his nastiness in the run game and you see how well he backpedals and sets his anchor in the pass blocking game, man, this guy's a blue chip prospect, man. Night and day. He's, like I said, he's my best offensive lineman, and honestly, it's not really close. He's the standalone offensive tackle to me, and this is a really good offensive tackle class and offensive line class,
especially at the top end. I think there's a lot of top end talent in this offensive line. I think you're going to see that with the amount of blue chip players that we have at the line. You want to move on to Kenyon Green?
Yeah, we're going to go on to Kenyon Green.
Lineman, probably guard, I would say. I think that's what he probably shapes out to be in the NFL.
I definitely
play left or right guard. I think that's where you see him. 6'4", he's like about 225 or 325, I believe. Really good player for sure.
So I probably have a higher grade on Kenyon Green overall than most people that break down these players. Guard is just not valued in the general consensus. Almost the same thing that we were saying yesterday about safeties.
Yeah.
But I do because when you have these quarterbacks, man, they do the thing that throws quarterbacks off the most is pressure up the gut. So Kenyon Green, man, to me is the best puller in this class. When you look at a guard that just moves laterally, this guy is it, man. His feet are amazing. He anchors amazing. His hands are amazing. I think the thing that really drew me to Kenyon Green, not just this year but last year, man, is honestly, man, when I was scouting Kellen Mond, man, trust me, I broke down Kellen Mond and had more tape on Kellen Mond that I broke down than probably any other player last year because I really was in love with him. And the one thing that kept standing out was he always had a lane to step up into when he was dropping back because he was, for as athletic as he was, man, he really did to the fundamentals of staying in the pocket. And he always had a clean pocket on that side, man. And trust me, man, Kenyon Green is a stud. And he did not digress this year, man. He actually progressed this year. And for everything that he did amazing this year, man, he was just as amazing last year, man. I think this guy is rock solid as a prospect, man. I could not give this guy a lower grade just because he's a guard. This guy is a prospect. And for everything that everybody says about Isaiah Spiller, man, he had some amazing holes and cutback lanes to run through, man, on their counter-based offense that they'd like to do with their run game. Definitely a zone blocker, but he has the power to play man. But honestly, I think you're wasting this guy as a prospect if you don't. But like I said, I mean, he's still a Pro Bowler in a man-based scheme. Which is why I have him as a blue chip player. But like I said, man, this guy's pulling as a guard is second to none. I'm not giving this guy the Quentin Nelson grade because that's just not fair. But but he does have a close grade to what I had on Quentin Nelson coming out, which tells you that he is a rock solid prospect, man. This guy as a guard is nasty. And I think that's what you're looking for when you're talking about interior pressure, man. He pass blocks and run blocks elite to an elite level. And that's really what matters, man. Hand usage, feet, sliding, pulling. Like I said, you start stacking them traits up, man. He was rock solid. He was always on the field, man. Durable player. You start stacking these things up, man, and you get the overall grade, man. That's why he is blue chip. That's why I have him ranked number 7 overall on my big board.
All right. Let's move on to Garrett Wilson, your first skill position that we have at a blue chip value. A wide receiver from Ohio State. He's 6 foot. I think he's around 185, maybe 180. A
little bit slight, but man, he plays huge.
Definitely does. And I think when it comes to the wide receiver position, I think he's the best this year. That would be the one that I would take in the top 10 if I'm taking a wide receiver. If you're sold on that as a need for your team, that's where I would go. I think he run vertical routes. I think he does the crossing routes very well. He's fast. He's prone to a little bit of a concentration drop, I've noticed here and there.
I think when you get the volume, I think that's a volume-based thing. I think these receivers now, they get so heavily used. They get so many passes thrown their way in the college game and on the short little dink and dunks and just everything, man. I think everybody's allowed to drop a ball over here and there. I think that's He's a natural hands catcher, though.
He is, and he's just so fluid when he catches the ball too. And he can catch the ball in any sort of off platform position.
His body control is elite.
He looks like he's flailing when he's going up for the ball sometimes.
But he always gets his 2 feet in bounds, and I think that is the difference between him and Olave. While I do have them two back to back, the reason he gets the knock is when I watch Olave on the sidelines, man, a lot of times it is the college rules of getting 1 foot in bounds.
Yeah.
Over when I see Garrett Wilson go up to get the ball on the sidelines, man, he's catching the ball away from his body, and it is 2 feet in bounds. I think he's more explosive, which it also gives him the knock. Garrett Wilson is the complete package for me. Like I said, he's a little bit smaller, but man, he plays above the rim like above his size. As far as his frame goes, he can definitely put on some weight, but I think that's something that NFL players do. First off, man,
when you get into an NFL locker room, I mean, granted, you play at Ohio State. That's like pretty much an NFL run organization.
It is, but dude, you can be 183 and really keep the weight down to keep that explosion and cutback ability. It's just hard, it's just less that you need to be.
I actually was like reading something on somewhere on my phone, and I saw that Garrett Wilson was like eating McDonald's twice a day or something at Ohio State.
I hope he gets that handled, because that's probably something that actually keeps him on a smaller frame, because realistically, man, when you start eating right, man, your body does grow. You won't lose explosion.
15 pounds. So don't be surprised when he gets in the league and he gets on an NFL diet. He's going to bulk up a little bit, and it's going to be even harder to bring down.
So for back to the traits for me, the reason that I keep this guy blue chip, even though he is a little 183 and a little bit slighter, is when I see guys try to get up in his face and press man him, he has amazing hands. He has amazing cut back and then go. Yeah. Like, he works his feet and his hands in unison together, and I think he's special at getting off the press man when guys with longer arms really try to get physical with him that are bigger than him. Yeah. And he just leaves them in the dust. And I think that speaks to his explosion, and that's the one difference between him and Olave is he comes off that jam.
He's electric with the ball in his hands, too. Like, when he catches a 7-yard pass, that thing is probably going for a little bit more than 7 yards.
He definitely to me is like I said, he's just everything that makes Olave great. I think this guy, for every trait that I graded Olave at with blue chip, this guy just had like the 0.1 higher. Like his hands are just a little bit more natural, like away from his frame, and his contact balance, like when he has the ball and like somebody actually hits him and runs, he just, like I said, he plays bigger than his size. And he jumps higher than his size. He's lanky, man. I tell you what, like what I said, when this guy gets into an NFL locker room, man, and just, he has to go up against NFL DBs, and, he has a little bit more issues separating compared to the guys, that he was going against in college. He's going to put on that weight, and that's going to be the thing that really elevates his game to the next level. Trust me, this guy is dynamic, and I think he's the one. I don't think that any of these wide receivers or the top-end talent of the Justin Jefferson or Jamar Chases when they were coming out. Like, I had much higher grades on Jamar Chase or just these guys that have come out, and I actually kind of had a knock on Jamar Chase, and that was his natural hands ability. But when you have a quarterback like Joe Burrow, man, that knows when to throw you a touch pass and knows when to rifle it to you and just has amazing elite level ball placement, man. Jamar Chase really went to where he is, because I think if Jamar Chase went to a quarterback like Justin Herbert, who is constantly rifling that ball in there, I think you would see the inconsistencies in his hands more so than what you do. I mean, he still had some drops last year, and everybody has drops, and it's a concentration thing. Jamar Chase is an amazing player with the ball in his hands and making guys miss and honestly going up and getting the football. But those inconsistencies with the hands going with a quarterback like Joe Burrow, you see it, man. He's a dog. And I had a higher grade on him than I have on any of these guys in this class because of that reason. Because when you add in Jamar's size and add in all the things that he has explosively comp to these guys who don't have his height, weight, speed, and the same level tape, it just separates the Jamar Chases, the Justin Jeffersons, and how they chop down and break and just how natural their hands are.
All right, let's move on to a running back. Interesting that you have him as a blue chip value, but or a blue chip player. But
I value
Brees
running backs.
Hall, running back from Iowa State. But he's 6'1", and he's 200. He's all of 220 pounds. And in the NFL, a 220-pound back is what you want as your bell cow. If you want to really do the running back thing, like with a Nick Chubb or a Dalvin Cook, and you really want to have that number one running back, he's got to have some weight on his frame. And Breece Hall has an NFL-sized body, which is something that not every back coming out has. Had a pretty good combine too. I think he ran like in the high 4.3s maybe.
Yeah, 4.39.
Very good back though. I think that he's going to be a really good one-cut running back. I think he's got elite vision.
I think he's got elite vision and patience. Yes. I don't want to comp the Matt Forte because I don't think he's just Matt Forte. Man, if you remember DeMarco Murray, how smooth he used to run. No, it's like DeMarco Murray was a smooth glider, man. And honestly, man, like when I watch this guy behind the line of scrimmage, he reminds me of Le'Veon Bell. Okay. Just the way that he sets up his blocks and allows them to go.
Hits the holes.
Yes. And then when I look at his contact balance, man, he has that Matt Forte, and his catching the ball ability reminds me of Matt Forte. But like DeMarco Murray was decisive. And that was why I couldn't just say like Le'Veon Bell or Matt Forte. When DeMarco Murray when he decided it was time to put his foot in the ground and go.
Decisive.
Just, man, it was, I see it and I hit it.
Right.
And, when you talk about a patient back, sometimes, that is the difference between letting it form up and then hitting it. And he has like the perfect blend of that. And he does have hands, man. And honestly, you stack on the hands, stack on the patience, stack on the contact balance, you stack on his speed, and you stack on how well he just, dude, he puts his head down, so he runs with power. He catches the ball out of the backfield great. And I'm not just talking about on screens and wheels. I'm talking about down the field, on option routes or anything like that. The way he makes guys miss. You start stacking these traits. You look at the overall grade. I have this guy as a blue chip player. Now I do have him rated on my big board down at probably in the 30s or low 20s, or the high 20s. And the reason is because I just know what I know about running backs. Running backs are going to get devalued. I don't have to put him up there because I can't. If I was to put Breece Hall in the top 10 of my players, then I'm comping him essentially to what I thought about Adrian Peterson or Saquon Barkley. And just Zeke and these guys, man. And honestly, I'm not saying he's not there with them, but there is a difference. There is a difference between these guys because he catches the ball better than all those guys, except for maybe Saquon.
Yeah.
Right, except for maybe Saquon. But like Saquon's what, 230?
Yeah.
He okay, you could say 230, 220, or we're being nitpicky on 10 pounds, but when you talk about a lower 4'3" guy in Barkley being 230, and just how built he was and his tape at Penn State. I mean, dude, Iowa State this guy carried at Iowa State.
Oh my God.
Like this is a fraction of like
ran through him.
Right. This is the difference between maybe 0.75 points overall between him and Barkley, but that is the difference between being top 10 overall on my big board at running back and that's because the positional value. I would take this guy all day in the first round. This guy's a first round running back, man.
Right.
I just I'm not a fan of Brock Purdy, and I'm not a fan of a lot of the things I saw at Iowa State, man. But this guy just year in, year out, constantly putting up 20 plus touchdowns. The guy finds the end zone. The guy knows how to hit the cutback lanes. He's good at counters. He could run the one gap scheme where he's running behind power man. And again, that's the scheme diversity. That's why I rank him as a blue chip player. He has enough burst people don't run him down from behind. You talk about these guys that get these heavy workloads. You can talk about the Jonathan Taylors and all that. That's kind of a knock. You talk about the mileage on guys, but dude, film is film, and that's what you got to go off of. And this guy's been durable.
Breece Hall has done nothing but produce
and stayed healthy. So durability is a trait, and he checks the box in that category too, man. For what everybody wants to say, man. You put this guy on a team that's a running back away, man, and I promise you, he's going to be up there in the top 5.
Yep. All right, let's move on to Chris Olave, another wide receiver from Ohio State that we have as a blue chip player. 6'1", about 187, I think is what he's listed at. Yep. Very, 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 very good receiver in my opinion. I think he's probably the cleanest wide receiver prospect this year coming out. I really like his route running ability. I think he's got an elite route tree. He's just very good at separating. He run. I think he's a home run hitter. I think he's always a shot. He always has a shot to take it to the house when he gets it in his hands. I do kind of wonder about what it was like for him to play at Ohio State with the other two great wide receivers that he was playing with. It's like, is it a knock or is it just a testament to how really great that program is really putting out wide receivers?
I think guys are really credit to Brian Hartline. He was a pros pro when he was in the league.
Yeah.
Brian Hartline, honestly, he's doing amazing things, man. You can just tell that guys that come in here, man. I mean, I love Terry McLaurin obviously as a Washington Commanders fan, man. Terry Mack is that dude. And since Terry Mack, this school has constantly got first round level wide receivers, and you can tell it's because, and they all credit it to Brian Hartline. You're talking about a guy who worked for everything in the NFL. So, he's now their coach. So, Terry Mack was he was essentially basically a walk-on. There's reports of him coming out of high school catching passes from his mom,
oh, wow.
To work on his hands and work on the inconsistencies in his hands that he had, which ultimately he worked on and cleaned up, and he was on a scholarship. But, Terry McLaurin, man, and Paris Campbell, he's had some injury issues. But, we're talking about Olave here. Olave's traits, man. This guy has elite level route running at the college level. That's something you rarely see, but that's a testament to work ethic, because honestly, man, the one thing that gets overlooked most of the time in college is route running. When you're this type of athlete, when you have his type of speed, when you have his type of credentials and coming out of high school, man, he was a higher rated player. He was a 3-star. I just the thing I worry about with Olave is, when you see him go up with contact, sometimes the ball, sometimes he's not that guy that alpha on tape. I'm not saying he doesn't catch the ball, but it's not like that. I got my hands on the ball and now it's mine. Right. No matter what the D-back does, and that's the only thing I worry about with him. But again, that is so nitpicky to what you see on the film.
Yeah.
His burst in and out of breaks, his run after the catch is elite. You watch him on bubble screens and you watch him come around on end reverses, man. He's clearly got a natural feel for lanes and running after the catch. Again, like I said, when I talked about Garrett Wilson, man, when I have my grades overall, he is literally a fraction of a percentage lower than him on the overall grade on some things, but he is higher than Garrett Wilson on a lot of things, and by that fraction of percentage, and that's why I have them very evenly ranked. Just pick your poison with these two guys.
Really are.
I think Ohio State just continues to put out prospects year after year, and it doesn't even really matter the position, whether it's edge, defensive line, offensive line, running back, whatever it is. C.J. Stroud next year, quarterback. These guys have amazing talent. We'll see how he translates. I think Olave is going to make a team look really, really smart for taking him. He might not have this. He might not be the best ever at this one trait or this one trait or this one trait or this one trait. But like I said, when you overall stack every one of his traits on top of each other, man, this guy's a special football player. Mm-hmm. I think he's a hell of a worker, man. Because when I watch his game from his first year to this year, it every year it gets better. Every year, some little nuance of his game improved, and it's a testament to show you how hard he works. But when I say that, improving his game, he was a really good player coming out. And honestly, he showed that, and that's why he's a blue chip player for me.
All right, Zion Johnson from Boston College is going to be the next player that we have listed. Offensive lineman from Boston College. I think he's a guard, but he played center a little bit at the Senior Bowl, which is kind of interesting.
I think Zion Johnson is a player that nobody's going to have on their blue chip rate.
You might be the only one, but.
And I will explain that. And it's very similar to what I saw with Kenyon Green.
I really like that the interior this year, the two interior guys, I feel like are very versatile. I feel like when Quentin Nelson, I feel like he was a left guard. And he's definitely a blue chip left guard.
Zion Johnson is one of the stickiest offensive linemen I think I've ever seen.
Yeah,
as far as when he gets his hands on you.
And apparently he's from Bowie, Maryland, so shout out to that too. That's
cool.
He's
I was about to say, I definitely knew he was a local kid as far as from where I'm from. And honestly, dude, this guy This guy was a hell of a football player in high school, man, and you can just see it. Like he's a hard worker, man. Every year you just watch his tape get better, more fundamentally sound.
Yeah.
He's a big, powerful kid, and when I talk about powerful kid, I'm talking about like one thing about an offensive lineman, man, is most of their brute strength has to come from their legs.
Yeah, and he put up 32 reps on the bench press. That's pretty impressive.
Yes, dude.
Yeah.
So like you see the upper, you see the upper body strength and you see the lower body strength.
Yes.
Moves very well. The reason that I say he pulls amazing. He's an elite pulling guard. But he's even better, I think, at Kenyon Green in the one-on-one man scheme, the power scheme. Like I said, when he gets his hands on you, man, you don't go nowhere.
Right.
This guy will put you on your ass in a heartbeat, man. Pancake blocks, getting to the second level is like he loves to go search out a linebacker. Like,
oh yeah, he's very good at blocking on the second level. He gets off of his block and just finds a linebacker. Just as literally what you just said. But
I think the reason that he's just not as well known is because of Boston College. I mean, dude, like a lot of people do just
yeah, and the ACC is just not known for putting out stallion linemen.
Right, and this year they got two of them with Ike Mekwonu and Zion Johnson. Honestly, man, I think people are going to say again. We talked about this with Jalen Petrie. Like, oh, he's really good at every position, but which one does he master? Well, honestly, I think he's a Pro Bowl center guard, and honestly, if I put him at right tackle, I'd be comfortable that he'd be a fringe Pro Bowl tackle, right tackle as well. I don't think he's not somebody I would want to have to depend on at left tackle. Just for the simple.
I'd probably play him at guard.
Right.
I think that's what he is.
He's definitely a guard. But he can play. He can play all these positions.
Yes, and I'm also interested to see what he'll do at center. I mean, not every guard can play center.
Dude, center being able to call. That's the part of it is he can line up at center and point out the calls on the offensive line.
And a lot of teams, they don't really carry backup centers. So it's like if your center goes down and you can have him flex into the center to finish off of a game and still put up, play competent football. It's just like that's value. It's just like, and that's what it's like when you have linemen. It's just like. You want to have the best group of five that you could possibly have. And having a guy that can, flex into center if you need to, if your center goes down, or can play both sides. Maybe even try him at right tackle, depending on if you need him to play there. But, he's a great player.
I like Zion Johnson, but we're going to move on just simply because, honestly, what a lot of the things that I said about Kenyon Green, this guy has as far as a trait standpoint. Again, a little bit devalued by guard. That's why guards, just they don't get talked about. They don't get pub. But, dude, this guy is a hell of a player, man. Honestly, the top-end talent at the offensive line in this class, man, is super high. And, you could say, oh, well, you can get a guard in the third round. Well, I promise you're not getting Zion Johnson in the third round and that type of what he puts on film. And honestly, dude, you can say whatever, man, but having a clean pocket for your quarterback to step on into, just as Tom Brady, it matters.
All right, we're going to move on to our last blue chip player on the offensive side of the ball, and he's actually my favorite player on the offensive side of the ball in this draft. Jahan Dotson, wide receiver from Penn State. He's a 5'11". They have him weighing at about 178 at the combine, 9.5-inch hands. Same as Olave, too. He's a very, very, very polished receiver, in my opinion. I think he played at Penn State and maybe had some of the worst quarterback play throughout his collegiate career. I think that a lot of the guys that played with a lot of the other first-round wide receivers, especially the Ohio State kids, they had C.J. Stroud throwing the ball. Treylon Burks had Jefferson.
Dude, Penn State's had some of the worst quarterback play I've seen in the last couple years. Really? I'm just going to put that out there.
Being real,
yes,
being honest.
It's not, dude. It's not a knock. These, I'm sorry, I can't play quarterback at all. So I'm not knocking this guy, but I'm just talking about it from breaking down film, which is what we do, and breaking down a player and being honest about an evaluation. They've had some horrible quarterback play.
Being 100, Jahan Dotson would be the best slot receiver in the NFL, in my opinion.
Honestly, Jahan Dotson is the best receiver to come out of Penn State in recent years, and honestly, they've had some really good ones that I really, really like. Godwin, and just honestly, man, Hamler. Yes, man, these guys were really good football players at Penn State. For what we were saying about Ohio State putting out these receivers, man, Penn State is honestly right there. You think about Big Ten football, you're talking about power blocking schemes and defensive front sevens, but honestly, man, they're putting out some wide receivers right now too, man. These guys are hella football players, man. This guy goes up and plucks the ball out of the air on the same level as Garrett Wilson.
Yes, and
Honestly, man,
he
like
has one of the best catches I've seen of all year. That one against Ohio State with that
the
one-handed
one-handed
one that he just stretches out for. I mean, this guy really has just
his
sure-handed.
Yes, his hands. He's got the best hands grade for me in this class.
Yes, and I think that he might be the most well-rounded wide receiver in this draft too. I think his run after the catch ability, his high pointing ability, his route running, everything just kind of makes him like. He doesn't do anything specifically amazing to put him over Olave Wilson.
But honestly, I think if you played with equal level quarterback play, I think he might even actually have a higher grade for me. But I don't get that from him. He just doesn't have that quarterback.
Yeah, grade. And he's 5'11". I mean, he's not 6 foot. So I mean, a lot of people are that's just gonna naturally they're gonna say, oh yeah, I want a taller wide receiver.
But he plays.
But
above
he
the
plays
rim.
big. He plays above the rim. It's just watching Ja Morant dunk is like watching Jahan Dotson go up there and pluck balls out of the air.
Dude, this guy's stop ability. Honestly, man, I've seen this guy do like 10-yard start stop and goes to the deep corner. And honestly, man, like if he breaks a cornerback down flat-footed, they might as well just walk to the sideline because it's 6. Like when he stops and goes, when the cornerback breaks down on that guy, dude, I promise you, like I don't think there's one time that I've seen him do it in college where the cornerback got flat-footed or stopped and tried to like undercut the route, like thinking it was a stop route or a little 10-yard out. Anytime that happened in college, dude, he always beat him, and then was always wide open in between the safety and the corner. Man, this guy's a pretty special football player. And again, a little bit on the slider end. That's something that's going to get fixed, in the NFL weight rooms. Durable player,
very durable too. And also like when he was at the combine, he ran the best gauntlet of all the wide receivers. Caught every pass in stride.
Natural catcher.
Fluid really is the perfect way to talk about him. And I think in the NFL he would just dominate out the slot.
And then the one thing that I think. I always forget to talk about when it comes to wide receivers, but his run blocking is. I have like the third highest grade behind him, Christian Watson and Drake London.
Yeah,
like he's a really good run blocker. Like for a guy that's as small as he is, man. Dude. Honestly, I think he actually takes pride in it. Like you can tell.
Oh yeah. Oh, definitely.
Going to Penn State, they like to run the ball, and honestly, I think you can say the same for Ohio State, man. For these 3 guys are really, really good, and like I said, man, I don't have the Jamar Chase, Justin Jefferson grade on.
I really don't have a Waddle grade on any of these.
Right, I definitely don't have a Waddle grade. There is nobody that electric in this class.
Yeah.
And people can talk about Jameson Williams and his speed, but like there's a difference between speed and electric and burst and explosive ability. And Jalen Waddle, even putting Jameson Williams in that category because they have similar overall 40 speeds or times or whatever it would be. I'm sorry, dude. It's not the same thing. It's not. Jalen Waddle was a special player in that regard, man. And honestly, for as electric and explosive as he is, man, he goes up and snags the ball out of the air. And that Jameson Williams is a hands catcher, and that's why he's on my list over here of highly graded prospects, but not blue chip.
Yeah.
So these are our prospects that we have the blue chip grade on. Now we can knock out a couple the few that I got on offense and why they're just a little bit different and not graded overall as a blue chip. We'll start with Evan Neal because Evan Neal gets a lot of love. He's a very high-rated tackle. I still have him rated high overall, for his grade and where he is on my big board. The reason he's not blue chip for me, he's a very good technician. He's been very consistent at Alabama, and honestly, man, there's just something that I've noticed about Alabama offensive linemen, and this is not a knock on him. This is not how I grade him. He gets an individual grade based on what I see on tape. But they're all plus level technicians, but they are not as athletic as you would think. Their size, weight, combination. Just you look at their builds, man, and none of them ever slide to you look at a 6'7", 320, yes. But he just does. You're man, dude, this guy's a mammoth, and you watch him walk, and you watch him
Evan Neal is massive, and I think he has blue chip run block ability, but I think he struggles a little bit.
And that's where you say you're just man, dude, what is the difference between him and Ike Ekwonu, man? That is what it is. It's the pull and the slide and the pass blocking anchor and just how naturally they use their hands in that blocking department, man. He is a hell of a player, dude. Like I said, this is nitpicky. This is really nitpicky. But when it comes
You have to be nitpicky when you're drafting.
Yeah, like, dude, right, dude. Like I said, he still has a really high overall grade for me.
Oh, sure.
But,
I would take him in the top 10.
But
I would
but where I value the zone blocking scheme and those principles, man, I don't think this guy is a guy that you really want to say, am I going to pick him in the top 5 or top 10 if I'm running the zone blocking scheme? I'm not. Like, I don't think he moves well enough for that. Now, you put him in the power, you put him in the manpower, and you're, man, I'm going to bull your ass down the field and we're going to run you. If I'm the Tennessee Titans, yeah, man, I run that in, but the Tennessee Titans are picking in the 20s. So, that's the thing, man. Not many teams run that power, man, just scheme like so often, man. All these teams have some form of like zone blocking scheme, and I think he has a little bit of tendency, and from what I see traits-wise on tape, that he struggles with those things.
Let's move on to Jameson Williams, a wide receiver from Alabama, 6'2", very electric player, very fast.
Again, I think I started this talking about this when it came to when we brought up Jalen Waddle. Yes, he probably does have like sub-3 speed. It's definitely evident on the film, and like he can definitely run with the ball in his hands. But sometimes when the ball hits his hands, it doesn't stay there. Like, I almost see a lot of that that Notre Dame receiver. William Fuller.
Will Fuller, yeah.
Will Fuller.
Oh, yeah, that's a really good comp.
Dude,
I don't think I've heard that one yet. That's a good one.
Honestly, man, he's
with the durability.
Body. Well, I'm not gonna knock an ACL, and anybody can say whatever, that he just didn't fit in with the Ohio State, and he went to Alabama. He definitely shined this year, dude. Nothing away from it, man. I value natural hands catchers. If you can't catch the ball the same out here as you can catch right here, I worry. That is something to worry about when it comes to my grading of a guy.
He might be the best body catcher since T.O.
It's just not natural, and honestly, that's kind of my little knock with John Mechie. And John Mechie, again, another Alabama wide receiver that tore his ACL in the playoffs. But it's like, dude, Bama wide receivers have been making a thing on the league. But I was very much critical about Jerry Jeudy and what I saw. I very much saw how well he used his feet and how well his release off the line was. But dude, I just was not. Every time I watched Jerry Jeudy against a team, and when I watched him live, he torched a team when I was talking shit about him. But what I saw was just inconsistencies with his. Yes, what I saw was inconsistencies in his hands. Not a natural body, not just a natural body catcher, but just when I see the hands away from the frame, I see inconsistencies. When I see those things, that is a red flag for me. When you start stacking up the traits, again, you're going to grade him high because electric speed, can track the ball over his shoulder, which is one of the hardest things to do in the league. Jameson Williams is a hell of a player. Again, this is nitpicky, but again,
and he's not going to be available for a good part of the season too. So
injuries is definitely a thing.
And you want to win games, that's something you got to factor in.
But I think the thing for him is he is going to end up going to probably one of the teams in the later round of the first. So that naturally gives him a leg up to some of these guys that are going to go earlier to a team that's going to have a little bit less quarterback play. And you know how the elite teams that are picking in the late 20s, who those quarterbacks are. Yeah. He picks on with the Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes, and you're like, well, here we go again. It's like,
legs.
Right, dude. It is what it is, dude. Yeah. It is what it is. And then Drake London.
Yep, wide receiver USC, 6'5", big frame.
This guy is loved by many, and honestly, I feel like I'm knocking this guy, but durability is a thing. Durability is a trait. Man, I don't even have to tell you to go break down this guy's tape. Just turn on his highlights. Watch how many times this guy lands on his back and how slow he is to get up, because he's constantly knocking the wind out of himself. This guy, I learned something with Josh Doxson and just these receivers that separate in the air. When they have to go up vertically to catch a ball, and that is how they separate from a D-back, man. And when they are landing on that ground, I promise you, dude, Sean Taylor was a hard-ass hitter, but he doesn't hit as hard as the ground does.
Right. No.
Not every day.
Drake London just kind of really reminds me of Mike Williams. And I've just watched Mike Williams a lot. And Mike Williams, he's constantly has a nagging injury.
And honestly, so does Drake London. Drake London is still dealing with the ankle issue that he was dealing with in the season.
Same body size, same play style. It's like I feel like they're almost carbon copies of each other.
Dude, they almost are. And honestly, of course, Drake London did not get the benefit of playing with Deshaun Watson at Clemson, like Mike Williams did. But dude, again, it's just dude, his hands, Drake London's hands are almost D-Hop level. Dude, he catches everything. He catches every ball that hits them damn things. So, dude, like when you start stacking up the traits, he gets a really high grade. Durability is a concern with me. Players that cannot separate due to their route running and their athletic ability and their speed, and like you're so big that you're tight that you can't break down cornerbacks, or smaller cornerbacks are just like on top of you constantly, or even the big guys are on top of you constantly. When you cannot separate from these guys, well, over 16 weeks or 17 weeks, we see it with D-Hop. We see it with all these great guys that separate from the catch point up on the 50-50 balls. The ones that are constantly landing on their back, the ones that are constantly getting hit and do not separate from these corners, they have durability issues. By the time the playoffs come in, they're constantly not in there. And D-Hop, that's been a thing with D-Hop. D-Hop with the Texans when they were in the playoffs with Deshaun Watson, man, hurt. Saw how effective he was in the playoffs when they were hurt. This year, playoffs, not available. Dude, that matters when you are looking at grading a player. And, like, I mean, that is part of the assessment is if this guy's not available for the playoffs, what are we doing? What are we doing? Like, I don't need this guy week 3. I don't need this guy for 220 and 10 catches on week 3. I need this guy for 220 and 10 catches in the playoffs when I'm going against Aaron Rodgers or Patrick Mahomes and I'm trying to get in when I'm in a shootout. And my defense is great, but they can't. I mean, dude, like, Patrick Mahomes is going to get his. Justin Herbert's going to get his. Like, these quarterbacks are going to get theirs, man. And if you are not available, man, well, then now we're giving this guy the Kyler Murray treatment where, oh my God, he played amazing during the season, but in the playoffs, so well, now he can't win the big one. Well, guess what? That's because his number one weapon is not available to him, man. It's not just him. It's not just that guy. I mean, just saying, Tyreek Hill, he was always available in the playoffs. You know, these guys that break you down with speed and explosiveness and route running, and they stay healthy, man. When they're available in the playoffs, their quarterbacks tend to keep shining in the playoffs, and that's a thing.
All right, I think that might be it.
I think that's it for this pod, man. I think, like I said, we had less players to break down. This defensive side of the ball, man, in this draft class is definitely head and shoulders, I think, personally above the defense. Again, there's good pass catchers in this draft like there are every year. Again, I just don't think it's the top level, elite level caliber players, and I do think it is like that on the D-back position. And, you know, again, yeah, like, you know, the top end offensive line talent is definitely there. I think a lot of teams are going to be come away from this draft, man, being very, very happy. The depth throughout this draft is honestly, it's there, man. You're going to get some guys in the second and third round who are going to put up their first round talents. I mean, they just are. Like, they have first round traits all across the board. They don't, you know, maybe stack up in the blue chip level, but dude, like, there's very few blue chip level players every year. And honestly, this is a pretty big list of blue chip players. I usually don't have one this long. So I mean, that's how I feel about this draft overall.
Alrighty. Thank you guys for checking us out. Tune in. We'll get at you later.
All right. Peace.
Later.